Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sustainability Podcast, and this is your March 2024 Energy Regulation Roundup. A little bit of a refresher, the Global Energy Regulation Roundup is dedicated to capturing and understanding emerging climate, energy, and reporting measures being passed currently all across the globe. The purpose of this monthly blog and podcast is to highlight approaching regulations and educate key stakeholders about their effects on a range of industries. Again, this blog is available on ArcWeb and it's updated monthly. I aim to post the blog at the end of every month and the podcast within the first week of the next month. Okay, so let's begin with the United States. So on March 6th, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, announced a significant rule aimed at improving climate-related disclosures by public companies and in public offerings. After nearly almost 2 years of deliberation, the final rule underscores the SEC's commitment to meet investor demands for consistent, comparable, and reliable information regarding the financial impacts of climate-related risk on companies. So yes, that long-awaited SEC disclosure ruling has finally come. Basically, in the new rules, companies will be required to disclose various aspects, including identifying climate-related risk that impacts strategy, operations, or financial condition. They have to submit information on material scope 1 and or 2 emissions for large accelerated filers. They also have to set climate-related targets and goals and disclose related targets and goals. And they also have to disclose capitalized cost, expenditures, charges, and losses due to severe weather events. If you guys are interested in reading more about the final disclosure ruling from the SEC, I actually did post a blog titled SEC Final Climate-Related Disclosure Ruling, and that is currently up on arcweb.com. So let's move forward. The Biden administration made headlines this month with an announcement of new automobile emission standards. These new rules relax the initial tailpipe limits proposed later last year, but they also closely align with the previous limits. The Environmental Protection Agency stated that the industry could meet these new limits if 56% of new vehicle sales are electric by 2032, along with 13% plug-in hybrids or other partially electric cars, with an additional more developments in fuel-efficient internal combustion engines. Notably, electric vehicle sales increased to 7.6% of new vehicle sales in 2023, which is up from 5.8% in 2022. These standards will be phased in over model years starting 2027 through 2032. I think this is particularly interesting because they're not saying that the car industry needs to rush and become all electric by 2030, but you're seeing a gradual increase in the development of electric vehicles. And by 2027 and hopefully 2032, we hope to see further developments in battery technology. The EV charging infrastructure is built out and can better withstand the amount of electric cars that are going to be on the road. So I think these look promising. I definitely do think that the inclusion of hybrid vehicles is essential, and I think currently that hybrid vehicles are playing a critical role, especially with battery technology. Now let's move our focus a bit over to the European Union. The European Council officially approved the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. Okay, acronyms. This directive introduces the legal liability for companies concerning environmental and human rights violations within their supply chain. Companies, both EU-based and non-EU, conducting substantial business within the EU must adhere to this new due diligence requirements. In essence, to comply with the CSDDD, companies need to identify, prevent, mitigate, and account for negative human rights and environmental impacts throughout their operations, subsidiaries, and value chain. Additionally, Germany launched a bidding process for subsidies to support energy-intensive firms transitioning to green production as part of a €4 billion funding round. This initiative, known as the Climate Protection Contracts, aims to build sectors such as steel, glass, and paper and chemicals in reducing carbon emissions during production. Approved by the European Commission, the program seeks to compensate companies for the additional costs associated with green production in industries where climate-friendly processes may not be cost competitive. I think this is very interesting. You see this here over in the States, especially with the 45Q tax credit and carbon capture. And I think that this is a needed subsidy and support from governments to aid the private sector in decarbonizing their traditional processes. So I'm really happy that Germany is moving forward with this, and I hope more EU companies go along with the climate protection contracts. Okay, so let's end off strong, focusing on China. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet L. Yellen addressed concerns over the overcapacity of green technology exports from China. Yellen highlighted China's overcapacity, stating that it distorts global prices and production patterns, ultimately impacting America's firms, workers, and other stakeholders worldwide. To give a little context to this, China installed more solar panels in 2023 than any other nation has ever built in total. The 216.9 gigawatts of solar power the country added shattered its previous record of 87.4 gigawatts from 2022. Additionally, China has also added 75.9 gigawatts of wind power last year, another record-breaking achievement to its solar-heavy portfolio. According to the International Energy Agency, the adoption of renewables reached a globally combined record of 510 gigawatts last year. What Treasury Secretary Yellen is doing is basically waving that flag to notify global stakeholders that the overcapacity of exportations from China is affecting global economic trade. And in response to this, you see the United States releasing laws like the Inflation Reduction Act, which has already accumulated $200 billion in clean power investments in the private sector. It's worth mentioning that the Inflation Reduction Act does not offer tax credits for electric vehicle buyers if the components are sourced from China, Russia, North Korea, or Iran. Alright guys, that is our March 2024 Energy Regulation Roundup. I appreciate you listening to this. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I think there's a lot going on, especially in this space, especially in this last month, especially with that SEC disclosure ruling finally coming through after 2 years. And if you're interested in reading the web-based version, again, the blog is on arcweb.com, and I'm looking forward to continuously releasing these energy regulation roundups, and next month marks the year anniversary.